ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the changing of the guard in Russia. In Moscow today, the Russian leader Boris Yeltsin told the Secretary of State James Baker that his republic intends to take over the Soviet Union's permanent seat at the United Nations, that Russia will become the only former Soviet republic to have nuclear weapons. And however much history he has made, Mikhail Gorbachev is rapidly becoming history himself. ABC's John McWethy was there to watch it happen today.
Boris Yeltsin used Moscow's well-known symbols of power to show Secretary Baker who is in charge. First, the room. In the past, only President Gorbachev used the ornate Catherine Hall in the Kremlin for high-profile meetings. Today, for the first time, Yeltsin used it as president of the Russian Republic, telling Baker pointedly, "Welcome to Russian soil and this Russian building." More important, the surprise member of Yeltsin's delegation. Seated one chair away was Yevgeny Shaposhnikov, head of the military, a man who has been intensely courted by both Gorbachev and Yeltsin. Until today, Shaposhnikov had not indicated in any way who he regarded as his boss. His appearance today seems to answer that question. The military appears to be following its paycheck. The Russian Republic can pay, Gorbachev's central government cannot. Yeltsin said the military would take no action with nuclear or conventional forces without approval of the civilian leaders of the new Commonwealth of Republics.
The final decision to launch the forces or to use them may be taken only after these consultations.
Having tried to reassure Baker, Yeltsin also had some demands. He wants immediate diplomatic recognition by the U.S. for the Russian Republic, and he wants to take the old Soviet seat at the UN Security Council. As for the fate of Gorbachev, Yeltsin was diplomatic.
We feel great respect for President Gorbachev, and as for his future, it is up to him to decide.
When Baker later met with Gorbachev in the same Grand Hall, the president's delegation included only Foreign Minister Shevardnadze and a few loyal advisors, no members of the military.
I think that historic developments are taking place. The Soviet Union is in transition to a different state.
And no one knows better than Gorbachev that the different state he describes will not have him as its leader. So Baker's job is to establish relations with the new leadership, to urge respect for such things as human rights and democracy, and to offer help. But what happens next in this part of the world, he concedes, will have little to do with what the U.S. wants. John McWethy, ABC News, Moscow.
Well, all this high-level politicking is not having much effect on the vast majority of the Russian people, not to mention millions in the other republics who have lived their entire lives under central control. ABC's John Donvan reports from Moscow tonight.
As Nikolai Mikhailovich waited an hour for gas tonight, as he does most nights, he said he is hearing nothing that gives him any hope of getting home earlier. I've lost all hope, he said. There are conflicts everywhere. Everything's too unclear. People here are realizing that while their leaders are speaking the language of commonwealth and independence, their own lives will in many ways stay stuck in the old system for the foreseeable future.
The society cannot shut down for a week or 2 weeks or 2 months. It is not a machine which can be, stopped and to give time reformers to perform their operations.
State Bakery number 4, for example, where the past is still part of the recipe. Although this bakery is about to go private, workers say for now they must depend on the old central government supply system, a system that sent them the flour they needed to make bread today, but not the cream for buns. It will take time before other sources of supply are organized.
Maybe the situation will improve with this new commonwealth they've set up, but so far the situation is bad.
But some people are finding new ways to do business. The Moscow Commodities Exchange, where young Russians buy and sell lumber and oil and running shoes, making money supplying what the old central system cannot. But many people simply feel stuck. Tonight on the number 2 bus, most passengers we spoke to agreed with this man who said, "I don't believe anything will change for the better." The only reason he gave was intuition. John Donvan, ABC News, Moscow.
There was more today. The Russian parliament has declared itself the successor to what was the Soviet Central Parliament. The Russians said they'll take over all the Soviet parliament's property, including its bank accounts. When we come back, the other news. The Democrats who want to be president try to make a television impression. Did an Israeli court that convicted a man of being Ivan the Terrible make a mistake? And later in the program, some of the hottest late-night television. No need for commercial breaks.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Chrysler Plymouth.
A new Chrysler Fifth Avenue at $22,000, the perfect balance between self-indulgence and common sense.
Everyone knows Contact wrote the book on cold medicine. Now Contact's added a whole new chapter, introducing new Contact Day and Night. On this page, yellow day caplets that knock out your cold symptoms without making you drowsy, so you can breathe easy and work all day long. On this page, blue night caplets that relieve your symptoms to let you rest. Both formulas control your cold symptoms with the right medicine at the right time. New Contact Day and Night, a whole new chapter in cold relief.
Another indication today that President Bush is at the least vulnerable to a challenge from the Democrats. In the latest ABC News poll, the president's overall job approval rating dropped below 50% for the first time, down 12 points in the past 2 months. He gets particularly bad marks on the economy. 7 of 10 Americans now say they disapprove of the way he's handling it. That is Mr. Bush's worst rating yet. When asked who they trust more to do a better job with the economy, more people chose the Democrats in Congress. Well, last night, those individual Democrats who wished to run against the president had their first chance to debate each other on national television. ABC's James Wooten on what they were trying to accomplish.
I think it's fair to say that I'm the only one with a consistent record.
Each tried hard to separate himself from the others, to identify himself to the country.
I was born in the Depression.
When I was in the Peace Corps in Ethiopia, of all the people running, I spent the most time.
After all, they're not really well known, not yet.
I fought in a war.
I'm the senior member here.
Only former Governor Brown is sort of famous. And after reading the papers a while, he attacked all the others as candidates of big money purchased by a powerful few.
Are you saying that I'm bought and paid for?
I'm saying this system.
There were several other squabbles, but what they all agreed on, which is likely to become the Democrats' basic message next year, is that the country's in big trouble, especially the middle class, and the president isn't going to lead the way out of it.
The country's coming apart at the seams. The middle class got robbed in the 1980s. George Bush doesn't understand ordinary, hardworking Americans.
Their solution?
America needs jobs.
And jobs, they say, can be created. The economy healed, deficits reduced, social programs like national health care funded, and the middle class restored. All of that and more if the government invests more in America and less abroad, less on defense and more on domestic needs. The specifics were scarce, but the candidates all agreed the money is there.
Let's quit subsidizing Europe and Japan. Let's bring the money home.
That defense budget was based on the existence of the Soviet Union. It doesn't exist anymore.
Although nobody leaped out of the crowd last night, nobody was significantly damaged either. And so while all these candidates go looking for better ways to deliver their message, the message of fixing America and not the world, that message itself isn't likely to change. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Washington.
There was further evidence today of how deep the recession is. A survey of American cities has found that the number of people who do not have enough to eat or a place to live is going up. Moreover, government agencies and private charities which want to help them are helping less because they are short of money. For the millions of American families who are barely keeping their heads above water with welfare assistance, here's a dilemma. How do you strike out and hopefully succeed on your own without having that safety net underneath you removed altogether? Here's ABC's Sheila Cast.
Lakita Harold used to be like thousands of other welfare mothers. She needed the monthly check to raise her 2 sons, but hated having to depend on the government. Now she's off welfare. She's running her own small shipping company and planning a big expansion.
That feels great to know that at any given time, I can write my own check now. I don't have to wait for welfare to write me a check. I don't have to wait for welfare to send me food stamps.
Lakita Harold had to overcome a big roadblock. Under federal regulations, accumulating more than $1,000 in assets takes you off welfare. So getting a business loan or buying a truck would have cut off her family's benefits before her business was producing income.
It was frightening to the fact, well, if I get off of welfare and start a business, how would I eat? How would I sleep? Where would I sleep?
She was lucky. A test program run by the state of Illinois took her and 20 others off the federal welfare rolls. The state agreed to assume their welfare costs until they got their businesses off the ground. Few people get such help. In Des Moines, Iowa, Mary Johnson believes she could start a business in her home doing medical billing. She has 9 years' experience in the field. But she cannot risk losing the welfare money she needs to care for her 3 children and her sick mother. She told her story to a congressional committee that is considering legislation to allow welfare recipients to accumulate more assets without losing their benefits.
If we were just given a small chance of getting the equipment, getting the software, and being able to save a little money, then we would be all right. We could survive on our own.
Important committee chairmen insist on more study before making such a fundamental change in welfare. But an unusual coalition of conservative Republicans and black Democrats argues that in the meantime, thousands are missing the chance to pull themselves off welfare. Sheila Cast, ABC News on Capitol Hill.
The manufacturing section of the economy remains in a serious slump. Industrial production fell 0.4% last month. That's the largest decline in 8 months, which is raising expectations that the Federal Reserve may cut interest rates again to try stimulating the economy. And it is that expectation which helped push the Dow Jones Industrials up nearly 5 points today to close at 29.19. The trading was moderate. When we come back, the Irish Republican Army continues its Christmas campaign of violence.
Bill, I still can't believe we're actually going. Honey, it's almost time to leave. What's wrong? Oh, a bad headache? Here, the doctor told me about this. Motrin IB. Same medicine as in prescription Motrin in non-prescription strength. It really works on my headaches. You know, honey, we're going to have a great time tonight.
Motrin IB, recommended by thousands of doctors.
And your wife.
The traction control system of the Lexus LS400 helps reduce tire spin across rain, sleet, snow, even an occasional patch of ice.
Norelco says don't shave your legs, baby them with Norelco's incredibly close, comfortable shave that leaves you baby smooth, baby soft. Norelco Lady Shave Razors, dry or wet, we make close comfortable.
Introducing Glade Plug-ins Potpourri.
Plug it in and freshen the air. Plug it in and freshen everywhere.
Plug into freshness with Glade Plug-ins, now in Potpourri.
Plug it in, plug it in.
Overseas again in Britain today, it looks as if the Irish Republican Army has struck again. This time the physical target was the railroad system which brings thousands of people into London every day. It was only a small bomb near Clapham Junction and no one was hurt. But once again it caused chaos and reminded everyone how determined some Irish are to drive the British out of Northern Ireland. Here's ABC's John Lawrence.
The bomb went off on railroad tracks in South London this morning, paralyzing commuter traffic for the rest of the day. Railroad and subway stations were closed and searched, trains were canceled, and automobile traffic stalled on the highways. More than 1 million people were affected.
I'm about an hour late.
What do you think about all this?
Well, I think it's awful. I mean, but we can't let them beat us, can they?
In the past 3 weeks, the IRA has set off approximately 75 firebombs. This weekend's targets included the National Art Gallery and London's largest shopping centre.
Because the IRA is using small bombs and is giving effective warnings, British officials believe its strategy is to cause maximum disruption with a minimum of casualties.
The IRA are just trying to stop the whole city. They won't, of course. They don't know the British well enough, do they?
If the IRA's intention is to wear down the will of the British people to stay in Northern Ireland, it does not appear to be succeeding. Rather, it seems to be reinforcing their determination to stand firm. John Lawrence, ABC News, London.
From Egypt today, confirmation that the number of people dead or missing after Saturday's ferry accident in the Red Sea is greater than originally feared. It now appears that fewer than 200 people of the nearly 700 on board survived when the ship returning from Saudi Arabia struck a coral reef. Some survivors have accused the crew of abandoning them. When we come back, new evidence in the case of Ivan the Terrible. A former American auto worker may be the wrong Ivan.
This is ordinary bulk fiber. It's full of grit. This is new Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. The grit is gone because it's triple ground for smoothness. This is ordinary fiber. The grit is definitely not gone. This is new Sunrise Smooth Metamucil, the best mixing, smoothest tasting natural fiber you can buy. The grit is gone. New Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. For regularity, nothing works better. And the grit is gone.
Panasonic presents a new breed of smooth operator. The new Smooth Operator rechargeable razor unites the old-fashioned closeness of a warm, wet shave with the convenience and no-nick comfort of an electric. Don't try this with any plugged-in razor. Smooth Operator wet-dry razors from Panasonic. Smoother than you ever thought you'd be.
Why cook in oil, margarine, or butter? All natural Pam adds only 1/10 the fat and calories and keeps food light and delicious. Pam cooking spray, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
This is regular. This is better. This Bayer is regular. For headaches, Anacin is better. Why better? Regular Bayer has one ingredient. Anacin has two. A pain medicine plus a second ingredient that makes it work better. Get Anacin. Get better.
So you just got a cash advance, did you? Too bad you used an ordinary credit card. Because you could be carrying some very heavy interest charges. Why not carry the Discover card? Just pay your full monthly balance and a small transaction fee, and we'll forget the interest. Which means our money comes with no strings attached. It pays to Discover.
The United Nations, after a long campaign by the U.S. and Israel, has repealed a controversial resolution equating Zionism with racism. It is only the second time the UN has reversed itself on a General Assembly resolution. President Bush said some months ago that repealing it would help the Middle East peace process. From Israel tonight, we report on a battle in the courts, which is sure to arouse American interest. It is several years now since a man named John Demjanjuk was forced to leave the United States so as to be put on trial in Israel after he was identified as a man commonly called Ivan the Terrible. Ivan the Terrible was responsible for mass murder during World War II. While Demjanjuk waits to be executed, there is new evidence to suggest that Israel may have the wrong man. Here's ABC's Dean Reynolds.
Back in 1988, the Israeli court reached its decision without hesitation or equivocation.
That the accused Ivan John Demjanjuk, standing trial before us, is Ivan, who operated the gas chambers at Treblinka.
Demjanjuk, the judges said, was Ivan the Terrible, responsible for the deaths of 800,000 people. The former Cleveland auto worker was sentenced to death. The court relied heavily on the gripping recollections of several people who survived the notorious camp at Treblinka and confronted Demjanjuk.
I saw his eyes. I saw those murderous eyes. I saw that face of his.
There he is, just the way he is. Here he is, right in this very hall. This is he.
As further evidence, there was this ID card, which suggested at the very least that Demjanjuk was trained as a camp guard at a Nazi installation in Travnicki, Poland. But no piece of evidence ever actually placed him at Treblinka, and Demjanjuk maintained throughout
he was a victim of mistaken identity.
An innocent man.
Now, the new evidence from the recently opened files of the Soviet KGB raises serious doubts about Demyanyuk's guilt. The files include testimony from 21 now dead camp guards who worked at Treblinka, all of them alleging that Ivan the Terrible was a man named Ivan Marchenko, and this photograph from the KGB, said to be of Ivan from Treblinka, a man the guards said had dark hair and sharp features, in no way resembling Demyanyuk. Demyanyuk was stripped of his U.S. citizenship in 1981. He was extradited in 1986 to stand trial in Israel because he was believed to be Ivan the Terrible. The Israeli warrant for his arrest referred to him as the suspect, nicknamed Ivan the Terrible. Defense attorney Yoram Sheftel insists Demyanyuk must be freed and returned to the United States because the specific legal case against him no longer stands up.
He was extradited to face specifically the acts that he allegedly did as Ivan the Terrible, the operator of the gas chamber in Treblinka, nothing else.
Sheftel says Demyanyuk should never have been extradited because, he claims, officials at the U.S. Justice Department's Office of Special Investigations knew about the testimony of the Treblinka guards 13 years ago, but suppressed it. The defense points to this 1978 U.S. government cable to the American Embassy in Tel Aviv, which refers to files from the Soviet Union related to war crimes. The cable, obtained by an Ohio congressman, includes direct references to the same Treblinka camp guards who remembered Ivan the Terrible as someone other than Demyanyuk. The evidence has clearly shaken the Israeli prosecutors. One government lawyer confided to ABC News, quote, "We never thought it was a safe and sure case," which is an astounding admission given the death sentence that now hangs over Demyanyuk's head. So the prosecution is likely to change its strategy. Sources say the government is now intent on showing simply that Demyanyuk was a camp guard who committed war crimes. The sources say there is evidence he was a guard at 2 other concentration camps. And that's enough, said one prosecution source, to keep him in jail, adding, quote, "The difference between Ivan the Terrible and Ivan the Less Terrible is not that important." But Demyanyuk's attorney says it is important. Among other things, he says the prosecution cannot simply switch its entire case during Demyanyuk's appeal.
There is no legal way under the Israeli law that Demyanyuk can face other charges other than Ivan the Terrible.
The hearing on the appeal of John Demyanyuk will take place in this courtroom next week. For the time being, he remains a convicted war criminal, and he awaits the hangman. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Jerusalem.
In Washington today, the Justice Department told us it is reviewing its decision to extradite Demyanyuk to see whether the United States made a mistake. We'll have our final report this evening in just a moment.
It seems that every time you turn around these days, another pain reliever with ibuprofen in it is comparing itself to Tylenol. But you know what they can't say? They can't say they're gentler than Tylenol, because they're not. Tylenol won't irritate your stomach the way ibuprofen sometimes can. That's a medical fact. And is it any wonder that today hospitals use Tylenol 14 times more than ibuprofen? Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
Share the fantasy. Chanel number 5.
I was a dedicated beard wearer until my wife gave me the new Remington Microscreen Elite. It's quick, it's close. The Remington Microscreen Elite has 2 ultra-thin screens. So comfortable, shaves as close as a blade or your money back. That's Remington.
You can count on Sears for great Christmas values. This Craftsman 16-inch scroll saw with plain end and pin-type blades is a $169.98 value for only $119.99. Don't miss it, only at Sears now.
This Christmas you can send a beautiful gift without ever having to leave home. The FTD Season's Greetings Bouquet. It's highly recommended by the one big guy who should know.
It's as easy as FTD.
Authorities in Wilson County say they've discovered evidence of devil worship.
I'm Ann Holt. We'll have details coming up next on Channel 2 News at 6.
Finally from here this evening, the commercial break. How many of us promise we'll never buy that product again when a commercial interrupts a particularly good television show? So who would have thought that so many people would sit around every night and watch what amounts to one long commercial? Here's ABC's Charlie Murphy.
They're the stars of late-night television.
I want to share with you
one of the most important discoveries
since you and I first started putting makeup on our faces.
And then there's
the host of Amazing Discoveries, Mike Levy.
Mike who? Levy, king of the infomercial, seen on late-night TV 2,000 times a month in the U.S. and Europe.
Ik geloof inderdaad dat de Europainter...
Seen more than Carson or Koppel. He's selling millions of teeth whiteners, wrinkle creams, and chicken roasters.
I want one.
What's his secret?
I'm naturally peppy. That's what people want to see, especially in today's economy. They want to be happy. They want to be entertained.
Infomercials. What looks like a 30-minute program is really a 30-minute sales pitch. They used to be seen only on cable late at night, but now it seems they're all over the dial at nearly all hours. They're almost ready for prime time.
All right, step by two, and take two.
In TV terms, they're cheap to make and make a lot of money. This infomercial for a hand mixer cost $125,000 to produce. It brought in $55 million. These are goods you wouldn't give a second thought to if you saw them in the store, but this is TV.
There's a magic about television. People may be more willing to believe that if they see it on television, it's probably true.
They are also willing to pay more. Car polish at most auto stores costs less than $10. Mike Levy's new Magic Shine sells for $29.95, but his can be mixed to match the color of your car. To make it look like a show, there's an audience. They get $40 and free lunch, and they clap on cue. These guys will do anything to make a sale, like setting a $300,000 Ferrari on fire.
We see people sitting there with the changer flipping by, and chances are when you see a few hoods on fire, you're going to stop and watch the rest of the show.
And don't forget to dial that 800 number. Operators are standing by. Charles Murphy, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Oh, we try to stay current. That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
And now, the news continues with Channel 2 News.